What is going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing a video that I really didn't expect to be doing. It was kind of spur of the moment, but we're going to be installing a body lift on the 4Runner. Now, if you don't know what a body lift is, what it is basically you're taking these little plastic pucks and you're putting them at your body mounts to kind of space it out and make it higher. What that does is that raises your body up higher off the frame. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I just went on a trip to Windrock, Tennessee, and I rubbed so bad in the rear, getting that tire so stuffed up there. It took plugs out of my tires and it was just a whole slew of stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install this body lift. And also it's gonna help me when I run up to 35s to be able to clear those 35s more so I don't have any issues rubbing on the actual body. So I got a 1-inch body lift from Toy Tech. I'm gonna go ahead and install that. I cannot find any information for installing a body lift on a 4th gen 4Runner anywhere. So this is gonna be kind of trial and error. Hopefully that you guys gain something from this video and it helps you guys out. So the front bumper that I got from Coastal Off-Road is not made to have a body lift. So I'll have to do some modifications to the front and lift it up. So this is why I'm doing these things, so that I can mess up on these things and you guys know if you guys want a body lift, do it before you get your bumper so you don't have to worry about modifying anything with it. So with all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get started on the body lift. All right, so the body lift I got was from Toy Tech. This is what their body lifts look like. It's just these plastic pucks. These are a 1-inch body lift. They offer them in multiple sizes. I wanted to go with a 2, but I feel like it might be a little too much modification. I didn't want to be too high, so I went with the 1-inch. The next things that they include is a bunch of bolts for you to be able to install where the body mounts go. They also include radiator drop brackets. I have no idea really how to put these things on. They kind of say it in the instructions, but the instructions are not too hot. And then also you have your steering column spacer. So we've got this that we're gonna have to install as well. This, from what I heard, is the most tricky part out of all of it. With all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get all this stuff put on. All right, now before we loosen anything up, I will mention it's pretty imperative that you get your steering wheel in position the way you want it before you start loosening any of this up. After you start loosening this stuff up, do not turn your steering wheel. So I've got my steering wheel in the position that I want it, because you can, if you turn your steering wheel, it'll sort of angle those bolts to where it'll be easier to reach. So you just stick an extension on here and then we'll loosen them up. You don't have to undo them all the way, but just get them loose. All right, so as you can see, I've got those 2 bolts loosened up. I didn't take them completely out, but they are loose. So now that those things are out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start working on the radiator. Okay, so in order to get the shroud out, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take off this plastic piece here. It just runs along this whole area here. I'm already missing tabs out of this thing. So we'll just pop the tabs out of here. All right, so we've got all the tabs out, and we're just gonna lift this whole piece of plastic off here. All right, now with that out of the way, we've gained access to our radiator and our fan shroud here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the fan shroud. I believe it's a screw here, a screw on the other side, and then I think clips at the bottom. So we're gonna go ahead and start taking this stuff off. All right, so it's a 10mm bolt right here that we're gonna undo. The next bolt that's hooked up to the fan shroud is the middle one. So your middle one's gonna be hooked up to the fan shroud, and then the one below that is gonna also be hooked up to this tank right here. So I'm gonna undo both of those 2 bottom bolts, and I'm gonna leave the top one. So there's pretty much a clip like this, and then the radiator fan just sits in it. So there's 2 clips at the bottom, it just sits in. So now we're just gonna go ahead and pull it up and out of the way. So we don't wanna take the radiator fan shroud off. All we wanna do is have it loose so that when we lift the truck up, it'll be able to move freely and won't pin up against that fan. Okay, so in order to loosen now the radiator, there's a bolt that's right here that we're gonna have to loosen. That bolt there's one exactly on the other side in the same spot, which is right there. And then the next 2 are down in this sort of pocket area down here. Now, if you can look through my bumper, and you can kind of see right in that pocket hole down there, that's where the other bolt is. So you'll just loosen those, and then we'll let the radiator hang free. Okay, so now we have gotten our radiator loosened. So it's just pretty much dangling in there. So now that it's free, we're gonna go ahead and move to the inside of the truck. Okay, so now we're inside. So what we wanna do basically is we want to take off this cover right here. So in order to take that off, you've got a couple of these, I think they're like plastic screws. I think you may just have to unscrew them, but that's what this black thing is connected to. And then this plastic cover should come off. All right, so one little tip for you guys. So as you can see in here, The bolts that we're gonna have to take off is this one on the side here and that one on the side there. I know earlier what we did was we loosened up these bolts down here. That thing is really rusted. So what I did was I turned it to where I needed it to in order to get them to be able to break free. And then what I did was I tightened it back up and adjusted the inside to where I needed it, because that's the important part. And then I came out here and I just loosened them back up in this position. If it was in this position before and I tried to loosen it, it would not have budged. So that's just a little tip for you guys. Make sure that your inside is in an easy position before you loosen up these right here. So this is the easiest way that I know how to do it, that I'm gonna try doing. So I've got a wrench on the bottom. The bottom is what you wanna use to actually turn it and loosen it. And then I've also got this wrench on the top. So what I'm doing is I'm setting this wrench here to kind of pin that top bolt and keep it from moving. So you want to spin your bottom one and then use the top one to keep it from spinning around, because you can't fit a wrench on it this way like that. There's just not enough space. So I don't want to risk stripping it, because this is something that if I can't get off, I'm screwed. So this is the way I'm going to try to do it. Hopefully this works, but this is the easiest way that I see to be able to do it. That way that I was recommending actually is the best way to do it. So now this thing is loose, so we can go ahead and start actually working on our body mounts and start lifting the truck up. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start accessing our body mounts. So as you can see, we've got a body mount here. We've got a body mount here. We've got a body mount right there, and then we've got another one right here. We're gonna go ahead and start accessing our body mounts. What we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take up some of the paneling, and also a little bit of the carpet as well. So we're gonna go and start popping these panels off, accessing where we can get to our body mounts. And then once we get that done, we're gonna work on one side and then we're gonna work on the other side. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna pop off this little box right here that your foot sits on. I already pried it up a little bit. You just be careful. I did break one of the little clips right here, but it'll be okay. So once you have that off, what you wanna do is you wanna take off this little screw here, right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo that. So now this side panel right here can come off. So we're gonna go ahead and start pulling off these panels right here. And then the other body mount is literally right here. So we'll just lift up the carpet. So all I'm doing is I pulled off this side panel here. And next I'm gonna take off this panel. Just like that. I'm gonna set that down. And then we're going to lift up our carpet out of the way. And there is our body mount hole right here. Okay, so here's where our other body mount goes. So I'm gonna pull this little thing out, and there's our screw. So all we'll do is we'll go at the bottom and then the top and undo that. Super simple. And then we'll do that to the back next, and then the trunk. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and lift our seat up here. Next, we're also gonna pry off this little piece of plastic trim here. Just be careful not to snap or break anything off that you don't want to break. Set that there. Now we're going to lift up this carpet, and just be careful with it. And right here is our other body mount as well. So here is our other port for our body mount. Just pry that little thing up. And there it is. And then the last one is going to be in the trunk. So we're going to go ahead and work on that one. All right, so now we're at the trunk. You want to take these this panel off here. It's got these screws in it. So you're just going to take a screwdriver or a drill, undo them, and then we'll be able to pull this whole panel off. All right, so we've got the panel loosened up. So now we're going to go ahead and pop it up. Just do all of this very carefully, seeing as you don't break anything. All right, so we're gonna set that to the side. Now there's another screw right here. So I'm just gonna undo that one. All right, so next we've got this, I don't even know what it is, but you're gonna pull on it and it's just gonna come right out. You just have to kind of grab like the very outer part of it and like pull out on it, and it'll pop out. All right, so we're just gonna move some of this plastic out of the way without breaking anything. And here in this corner is our other body mount. So you don't have to pop all the panels off, you just need to move them just enough to gain access. We'll start loosening these bolts off and sliding our new ones in there. So now it's time to start loosening the body mounts. So as you can see, we've got two different sizes here. The fatter ones go in the back and the smaller ones will go towards the front. It's going to be pretty self-explanatory. Just look at the size, diameter that's on the one that you're replacing and put the new one there. We are not taking the whole body mounts completely off. All we're doing is adding this spacer on. So we're going to jack the truck up, slide the spacer in, put our new bolts in, and then tighten it back up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and loosen this one up. So it'll be pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to go ahead and start loosening up these body mounts so that we can get the truck jacked up. This is the way I got my other body mounts off when I was doing a body mount chop. So this is another way that you can do it. Just have a pair of vice grips down here, use your wrench, just go up and down and keep loosening it. For the front body mounts, you actually don't have to put a pair of vice grips on the front because it's got these like little arms on it that'll keep it from spinning whenever you're loosening it off. So you don't have to do that with the front, but for the other ones, you will have to do that. All right, so same thing with this side. I've got a pair of vice grips at the bottom, and then we're just gonna go ahead and loosen this up. So I'm gonna pop this out, pull it out of there. All right, so I got this other body mount out, and this one was a huge pain. It was super, super rusted. So what I had to do is I had to jack the truck up onto the bottom of the body mount and like push it up and then start unscrewing it while I was doing that. I tried hammering it, wouldn't come out, so just keep that in mind. So you may run into the issue with these bolts that they're super tough to get out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna measure from the tire to the top of the fender. I'm not gonna be moving the truck at all. The only thing I'll be doing is like jacking the body up, putting the lifts on and dropping it down. So I'm just gonna actually measure from this point of the tire right here. So from this point of the tire, we're right at about 5 inches of space right here. So now I'm gonna measure the back and see how much space we have back there. We are right at 9 inches of space. So the back has got about 4 inches more than the front. So I'm gonna go ahead and jack the body up, and then we're gonna go ahead and slide our spacers in. So as you can see, all I'm doing is I've got wood stacked up and I'm sticking it right on the body. If you jack the truck up from the frame, it's pointless, so you wanna jack it up from the body. It goes without saying, do not put the body lift on the bottom. I just have to say this just in case there's anybody out there that would do that. Do not put the body lift on the bottom because that defeats the whole purpose. Your body lift needs to be up top, up there. Okay, so we jacked up the truck. We got it pretty high up on this side. As you can see, that's the gap we have right there. So I'm gonna try and slide this in. Our body lift is on right there. And then towards the back, we've got a space up in there as well. So there's just enough space to be able to slide that one in as well. Actually, I might be able to get it. So I've got that one. That's literally all there is to it. So they include these washers right here for you to be able to put on these bolts. So we're just gonna slide this one on here, and then we're just gonna drop it right into where we installed our body mount. That part's done. So we're gonna do pretty much that same thing throughout the whole side of the truck. So I'm gonna have to jack the truck up some more so we can install our spacer for our steering column. So once we get all the bolts in on this side, we're not tightening them down, we're just getting them in. Then I'm gonna go ahead and install the spacer. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and add the spacer. The big holes go with these like peg looking things. So you're gonna line that up that way. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop my new bolts in here. I'm gonna slide that in there. All right, so now that I've got that in, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna very, very slowly drop my truck down to make sure that those holes line up correctly. Just be careful when you do it. Don't get your fingers stuck, and make sure that those holes line up right. Okay, so that hole is lined up correctly. And now I'm gonna put my other bolt in to make sure that that one's lined up right too. All right, so I've got both bolts in, and now I'm gonna go ahead and drop it down all the way. Okay, so we've got everything tightened up. We got all the body mounts tightened back up. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and tighten up our steering column. Now we've got that spacer in. We're just gonna tighten it up exactly the same way we took it off with the 2 wrenches and working against each other. So this is the kind of wrench that I'm gonna use for the bottom. This is the one I've got for the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on here, and we're just gonna tighten them right back up again. So something to keep in mind when you're putting in your steering column, they give you 2 types of nuts. One is the lock nut, one is not. Do not use the one that is not a lock nut on your steering column because it'll strip it and it won't fit. I had to learn it the hard way. Use your lock nut for the steering column, and just pay attention to the bolts when you put them back in as well, and the type of bolts that they give you. I assume that they were all the same. They're not, and it matters which one goes where. All right, so we have got our body lift finally installed. As you can see, here's kind of the gap that we're looking at as far as the bumper goes. I'll get that taken care of. So we've got our steering column tightened back up. We've got our body lift areas tightened up. Now, don't forget to tighten up your bolts down in there. Make sure that you do that before you turn your steering wheel, of course. So everything else is pretty much done. Now we just have to install the radiator drop brackets, and then we will be done. Okay, so now we're going to install our radiator drop brackets. So we get 4 of these drop brackets. So you're supposed to put them in this way with the stud facing this direction. The regular mounting point to the actual radiator is where you're going to want that middle hole to be at. So it's going to be like that. And so this top stud is going to come out of the original part that it was in on the truck. I'm going to install this in here on this side. It's going to go in there like that. I'm going to take my washer and my nut. I'm going to put it on the back here. So now this top stud right here is going to go into your original mounting point on your body. And then I'm going to move to the other side and do the exact same thing. Okay, so we've got our radiator installed back where it's supposed to be. Next, we're going to go ahead and put our fan cover back on. And there's clips at the bottom that it'll sit in. And I just sit it down in there just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and reattach it the same way we took it off. 1 bolt here and 1 bolt there. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. And then we're just going to tighten these down and we are finished. All right, guys, so the body lift is finally on the truck. It wasn't too hard, but it was a lot more extensive than I thought it would be. I was thought putting a body mount on, you just slap it on and be done. But there was a few extra things in here, and it can get a little intensive in some areas. For me, I'd say the 2 hardest things were the radiator mounts, getting those drop brackets on. And the other thing, which I know people were talking about they had a hard time with, was the steering column. I didn't find that to be too hard. It was a little nerve-wracking just because there was a lot of hype around it, but it wasn't that bad. So we did get about 1 inch, and honestly a little over 1 inch more of body clearance. So in the front we had 5, now we're up to about 6, almost 6 1/4. In the rear we had 9, now we're up to about 10, a little over 10. So getting that inch, a little over 1 inch of clearance definitely will help out with, you know, making sure that when I get the truck flexed, I'm not scraping up the body or anything. And it also did raise it up a little bit. Obviously, this bumper was not made for a body lift. So if you guys are wondering how I'm gonna end up closing this gap, the bolts where the bumper mounts onto the frame, all I'm gonna do is drill holes about 1 inch lower, and that way that we can lift the actual bumper up and just screw it back on, and that'll fix it that way. Pretty simple fix, so I don't have to do anything crazy with it. All I'm doing is just drilling either 1 or 3 more holes, and then just lifting the bumper up, sliding it on, and we'll call it a day. So hopefully that was helpful to you guys. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section, and I'll catch you in the next video.